back. We totally weren't sleeping. We're totally not exhausted from 3 days of E3. You guys exhausted? I'm great.
Yeah,
I'm
great,
as fresh
great.
as I was 2 days
More
ago.
E3.
This was really refreshing.
Yeah,
So
I wish-
one more.
I wish there were another week. Am I right?
At least.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
least.
Maybe
You know,
a
yeah.
month of E3. I'm
Maybe,
thinking.
maybe a month. It
Yeah.
feels that way
Yeah.
though already, doesn't it? Well, I am your host, Shack News Long Reads editor, David L. Craddock. We're back for our last interview, live from the E3 show floor. Before we jump in with Sam and Anna from Remedy to talk about Control, we're going to show you the new trailer they debuted, and then we'll be back to talk about it.
Wonderful.
The oldest house is a shifting place. There are rules and rituals. You can keep traveling deeper.
Hey everybody, and we're back. We were still just talking, still chilling, still coming down from E3.
Waking up.
Yes, we're still waking up, still stretching. And I'm really excited to talk about Control. We had the debut trailer during Sony's conference, and I was just saying that I really loved that trailer because unlike in years past when Sony would just kind of boom, 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 fire out trailers, they seem to take kind of a quality over quantity approach this year. And every debut, every trailer was really interesting, especially Control. Now, as a Remedy fan, I have to ask you, kind of walk me through, from Alan Wake to Quantum Break to Control. What has kind of your through line been in game design and the type of action that you wanted to deliver leading up to Control?
Well, I mean, we try to learn with each
Yeah.
project,
Yes.
and take those learnings along, and also, every time we start something new, and we wanted kind of a fresh start with Control, we look for, inspirations and ideas that excite us, that we can feel passionate about, because you need that in a project, and hugely proud of what we achieved with Quantum Break, where we set out to do kind of, mainstream, colorful sci-fi in a way, and we did that. Great. Now let's do something else. And this time around, we just went with what excites us, which is often, out there material, weird, strange things. And we decided that let's not, hold anything back. Let's go all the way, as far as this takes us. And because we love it, we are passionate about it, then we trust that gamers come along for this ride.
This is definitely strange and weird, but I think in the best possible way because it really grabbed my attention. What type of game is Control? I almost, watching that trailer almost reminded me of watching the Inception trailer for the first time. I was just so struck by the visuals, and I wanted to know more about what I was seeing.
Yeah, so we're working with an aesthetic that comes from the literary genre New Weird. I don't know if you're familiar with Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation.
No.
Yeah, they made a movie of it recently. But yeah, we're big fans of his Southern Reach trilogy, and we've read it. And there were a lot of other inspirations sort of in that same genre, but it borrows elements.
And Inception definitely being one of them.
One of those,
Sure.
of course, yeah. And we're just borrowing elements from like science fiction, horror, and fantasy, things like that, taking those familiar elements and twisting them into something new and strange that leaves you with questions, leaves you wondering, and leaves you with a sense of awe. And that's what our game is all about, is provoking that wonder and awe.
Mystery, we feel, is a great driving force into, sparking your imagination and taking you forward. Well, but this is, Control is a supernatural action adventure game. And we have focused a lot more than before. We've done it before, but we have focused a lot more on world building. We wanted to create a mysterious, deep, many-layered world with a lot of lore, and this is a lot less linear experience than the games we have done before. So this is more, we want to plunge the player deep into this, and it is more player driven in the sense that there is a story, but there are lots and lots of other missions to follow, and a lot of things to explore and discover, and secrets, and it's, in some ways it's more challenging. We both from the fiction perspective of trying to find the answers and piece it together, but also on the gameplay side, we want the players to be challenged, and we have created, on the action game side, we have created a deeper action game combat experience, much more a sandbox experience in that than ever before.
Oh, tell me how those aspects such as world building, an open world sandbox type experience, and the action at the character's disposal, looks like a lot of telekinetic and psychic powers. How do those all kind of meld so that players can interact with the world, as you say, so that it's still story driven, but the player is kind of driving a lot of that?
It's actually more of a gameplay-driven title for us this time. I mean, obviously story and game need to work together. But yeah, I mean, the story is Jessie comes to the oldest house and she gets these powers. And so it's her adventures learning how to master the abilities that she's been given, figure out how to use this supernatural weapon that she's got as well, as she's making her way through the oldest house and trying to defeat the Hiss. So the story and the game really are the same thing. They just are so interwoven. And as you are exploring the oldest house, you're going to interact with the environment, and you're going to find elements of the story by talking to the NPCs, learning things about the house by going on these side quests, and finding these secrets that we've hidden and tucked away into every corner of it. So it's all seamlessly melded into one, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, in all of our games we have explored different methods of storytelling, graphic novel, pages of a book, TV show. This time we are experimenting on ideas on how to let the world tell a lot of the story.
What are some of the abilities that players will have at their disposal?
I mean, it's, Jessie comes to this building, Federal Bureau of Control being this secretive government agency that deals with the unexplainable forces, and they have discovered these altered objects that they have brought here to study, do research on, trying to replicate, some of the powers that they have and trying to control these powers. And you discover these objects of power, and many of them unlock new supernatural abilities in Jessie. So you are discovering new abilities, and as Anna said, one of these objects of power is actually the gun you have. which is the director's gun. It's this mythical object that has been in the Bureau's hands for a long time, and through this strange ritualistic process, whoever is deemed worthy to wield this gun is the rightful director of the Bureau. And early on, Jessie gains this gun and goes through this strange trial, and she becomes the director because this supernatural violent force called the Hiss that has invaded the whole headquarters has killed the previous director. So Jessie becomes the director. She doesn't know what it means, but it comes with power, and she gains these abilities that you can actually, modify in the game as well. But many of them are telekinetic in nature. On our proprietary game engine side, we have pushed the dynamic destruction and physics as far as we could go, and then you have these abilities. You have this gun that you can keep modifying. It has different forms, and you have the environments that you can use. A lot of destruction going on. You can tear a chunk of concrete out of a wall and use it as a shield and use it as a weapon against the enemies, and the enemies being the agents of the Bureau who have now been possessed by this hostile force and changed by it, also gain powers. So it can be, this sandbox of a lot of things happening when you are in a combat encounter, and there is challenge, but also, a learning curve for the player to start to understand that surprising things happen, but using the right abilities and the right gun form, you can take advantage of this and react and fight the enemy.
It almost seems like in each game, as you said, you're learning from what you did in the past. Action is still kind of at the core of your games. Does Remedy almost consider action to be, I guess, like a language with many different dialects? How can we communicate and experiment with it this time around?
Yeah, it is. All of our games have been action games, and it's interesting in the sense that, it's interesting in the sense that action gameplay, in a purist form, can be really, really powerful and very reactive, and something that we have done in various forms, stylizing it to fit the themes of the experience. In obviously Max Payne, Bullet Time, Alan Wake, light and shadow, Quantum Break, all kinds of superpowers related to time. Now a lot of the kind of physics, telekinesis, and other things. So kind of we are trying out new, different things with every game, but certain core we retain.
Yeah, and I think action can take different forms too. In our game, Jessie has to perform these rituals, which are, also a form of this action, where she has to go through a certain set of actions, sometimes in a very repetitive way, sometimes in a very mysterious way, to make something in the house happen, to make it react to her. And they often come with an incantation, but it is the performative nature of it that makes the thing work.
Yeah, there certainly is an adventure element in this experience.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier about modifying powers, I believe, through the director's gun. What is an example of a power somewhat early on, so we don't spoil anything, and then a way that it can be modified? How do modifications change powers, I guess is another way to ask it.
Yeah, we haven't really gone into detail that much on that, but even though outwardly your director's gun looks like this crazy pistol, it really is many different weapons combined into one, depending on the form you choose to use.
Excellent. since a lot of, well, most of Control, as you said, is gameplay driven this time of world. What are some of the challenges you faced in creating a game where players are going to be more behind the wheel and the experience is less linear than a game such as Alan Wake or even Max Payne?
I can speak to that because that's been, a personal challenge for me on this game. It's making sure that we are putting the right information in the right places. I mean, we do know that player agency is a big part of it for us, but some players are more interested in story than others. And so we want to make that part of their choice. It's their volition to go seek out the answers to the mysteries that they discover or not. But in the demo that we're showing here, we do have a story, Jesse's story, that you can follow throughout the game, and that is sort of this thread that you're following. But then there are all these side missions that you can follow and pursue, and secrets hidden in the world, and those color the main story. They offer you information about what's going on there. They talk of a deeper mystery hidden at the Bureau, and those are things that you can also do along the way. The challenge is to make sure that we're putting those in the right places so the players can find them in the right order if they want to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to, in some ways, we wanted to find a new purpose to the main storyline, and because the world is such an important thing, you might say that the world is a character of its own in this experience. We decided that the purpose of the main story, I mean, it is Jesse's journey.
Yes.
You know, a version of Hero's journey in a way. I would think that a very modern and very weird take on that. But essentially, it's Jesse coming into this building and you know, being introduced to this world and you know, trying to find the answers she's after, trying to find her place in this world. But it's also, you know, player's journey in the sense that this is an introduction to this world.
Right.
And even when you play through the main story, unlike in other Remedy games so far, there is a huge amount of content still there. There are other missions, there is exploration, secrets, and challenges to be faced.
Sure.
And you can keep on playing this game even, you know, once you've gone through the main story.
Excellent.
Yeah, and one of the things we're trying to do this time is to use cinematics more judiciously, to use them in very creative and I think unusual ways to tell the story that we want to tell, rather than just sort of bookending, you know, a chapter, if you will, with a cinematic. I think they're gonna pop up in some very surprising ways. Yeah.
Excellent. I wondered a bit on the technical side, I guess. What is involved in putting together a trailer like the one we saw during Sony's press conference that might seem really weird, but it's actually very purposeful and it is communicating a little something that you want players to know?
Well, I mean, you know, first of all, it's you know, having been at this now for 23 years. And you know, having done a lot of trailers and a lot of game announcements,
sure.
we kind of decided, and it's always project based when to do the announcement.
Yeah.
We were in a happy situation that there was no pressure to announce this game really, and we could wait. I mean, in some cases we've announced the title when we are still in pre-production and we kind of know that the material we are going to show is not final material in the sense that we are still in the process of discovering what this game is going to be.
Right.
Now we are deep in the production and this is the first time we are showing the game and the game is there and we have final content there, so we kind of know that what we are showing is what you're gonna get as the player when it's done.
Right.
So, which also gives a nice opportunity to have a lot of material to choose from in creating the trailer.
Okay.
And then it comes just to, you know, as with any storytelling, sitting down, creating a screenplay, thinking about what are the messages we want to do, and capturing gameplay footage that fits that, and then having, you know, our masterful artists working on it. This trailer was cut together by Juho Jousmäki, who is really good at what he does, and you know, then it's a process of iteration as it always is.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, what is the reception been? We talked a little bit about this before we went live.
Yeah.
What has the reception been like before? Is it about what you expected, or maybe what you wanted?
I don't know that we had any real expectations. We were hoping that people would like it and respond to it, but we were not prepared for the outpouring of almost rapture that we've received from people. I have people coming out of the demo who don't want to leave the room. They don't want to ask questions. They just want to keep talking to me about the game, and
that's good.
you know, and it's just been overwhelmingly positive, and the passion that we're seeing shows that people really get what we're trying to do here, and that they've been very hungry for something new, and it's exciting to be able to give that to them.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, you could always say that making something unique is a risk. That you know, it's not playing it safe, and it's not proven. But you know, and you kind of believe in it. But as with any creative venture and process, there are times when you start to doubt it, like are we crazy?
Right.
Doing this, and what will people say? And that's what makes, you know, coming here and doing the announcement kind of a, it's on one side nerve-wracking, on the other side, you know, thrilling to finally be able to show it, and you never know. But as Anna said, response has been
Amazing.
You know, humbling and you know, wonderful. You know, really proud of what we as a team have achieved on this, and people seem to like it, which is great.
That's excellent.
And they seem to get it, which I think is, you know, when you're doing something like this, which can be, I think, a little obscure for some people, you know, it's not maybe the most accessible narrative. It's risky.
On many levels, this is kind of a hardcore experience, but that seems to now resonate well.
Yeah, it should be challenging to people. And so knowing that we were coming here with a very challenging
May I have your attention, please?
trailer,
Wow.
The exhibit hall is now closed. The exhibit hall.
we made it.
We made it.
We made it.
We absolutely made it.
Congratulations.
We'll see you next year.
High fives all around. All around. We did it.
Congrats.
The exhibit hall is closed, but we're not quite done
I
yet.
know. So to see that people really have taken the time to try to understand what we're doing, and that they don't just get it, like they're playing the game we wanted them to play. You know, they're
That's awesome.
piecing things together, and they've taken up that challenge, and they're running with it. That is exhilarating for me as a creator. That's what we do this for.
That's
Yeah.
excellent. Well, thank you
Yeah.
both very much for coming by.
Yeah.
Before we sign off here, could you kind of remind viewers when Control will be out and the platforms that it'll be launching on?
This is a multi-platform game. We haven't done a multi-platform game in a while. Max Payne 2 was the last multi-platform game. So really happy about that. It's coming on Xbox, on PlayStation, and on PC. And
2019.
2019.
next year.
Yeah.
Next year.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say, as a Remedy fan since Max Payne 1, I'm really glad to see people still so excited about the unique projects that you're doing. And thank you very much for coming on. Congratulations on the reception to Control so far. And that is going to do it, not only for this interview, but for the Shack News E3 live show. Thank you very much for hanging with us this week. I am your host, Long Reads editor at Shack News, David L. Craddock, signing off. Do it for Shack News.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.